Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit the notification bell, get all the updates. Let's say for today's video, it's Saturday, and on Saturday I do Cellar Saturdays, and that's where I take something off the shelf in the cellar and I drink it, instead of it just being wallpaper. So I almost always, when I'm thinking about what I want to drink, I'm like, I should do a bourbon barrel-aged stout. And then I do change it up, but that's like almost what I'm like always thinking I want to drink. And this is probably the furthest from that I've chosen. So at least I can remember. Well, I did do that awful Dogfish Head higher math, but anyway, Supplication ale aged in Pinot Noir barrels with cherries added, re-fermented in the bottle, sour ale barrel aged 9 to 15 months, 7.75% ABV, and it'll be 6 years old next month. So almost exactly, coming up on exactly 6 years old. Actually, I think a month from today. Yeah. So if I was a better beer tuber, I would have waited a month. I'm going to read what it is. So if you just want the review, I would skip forward a little bit. This is proper glassware. And the picture on the bottom of the glass bottle is also right here on this glass. All right, anyway, supplication, to ask for humbly or earnestly as by praying, or to make a humble entreaty to beseech. Definitions. So as a teacher, I think it's important to define terms. I really appreciate that they defined the term. What is the beer? That's probably what you're watching for. Not definitions for supplication. What is this beer? The beer inside this bottle took more than a year to make, a reasonable length of time for fine wine, but not for beer. This is, in fact, a brown ale aged in used Pinot Noir wine barrels. During the barrel aging, sour cherries, Brettanomyces, Lactobacillus, and Pediococcus that one I don't know, were added to each barrel, imparting a nice cherry flavor and sourness. While most winemakers and brewers cringe at the idea of adding Brett bacteria to their wine or beer, our brewer, Vinny, embraces these unusual ingredients in beer. Despite his winemaking background, ironically, Vinny decided his winemaking days were through when he discovered it takes just 21 days to make a beer. Years later, it takes him over a year to make this beer. Supplication is re-fermented in the bottle to create its carbonation, a process commonly used to make fine champagne and sparkling wine. Spent yeast forms a thin layer of sediment in the bottle, adding yet another layer of complexity and flavors. Pour slowly as to allow the natural yeast sediment to remain in the bottle. Okay. I know proper public speaking you're supposed to look up when you're reading. Tiny font, black on, not the darkest blue ever, but not the easiest to read. I don't want to keep losing my spot, so I apologize for not looking up. I'm sure no one cares. All you care about is, am I going to screw this up as I open it? Is the cork going to go flying? Am I going to slam the bottle down? Is it going to gush up, because it's been sitting here for almost 6 months, 6 years? All that buildup to nothing. Smells like Brett. Smells like cherries. That is a brown looking beer, and like they said, it's a brown ale at its base, making my glass look dirty that I just cleaned. So -1 point for the beer. It's like super sticking to the side of glass. Yeah, that's gonna be there. Nothing I'm doing is getting rid of that. Judge away, internet. Yeah, that's an unappealing brown color. For the most part, it kind of looks like cider, actually. My great grandfather used to make cider, and it very much reminds me of those days when he would, pick up the apples at the orchard that were on the ground and make his cider. We'd get a gallon of it. nice memory. Not a lot of head, which I think is also what's making this a little easier to think of as cider. But I'm really focusing on the cider because it does not look pretty. And that's like the nicest sounding thing I can say that it looks like. So let's move on from the look. Like I was saying when I smelled the cork, you get the cherry. Like it's unmistakably cherry. It does have, and they did, I mean, besides the yeast they put in, it is sour cherry, as they're saying. You do get a sour cherry onslaught, I guess is probably the right word. There is some sweetness there. A faint mix of caramel and molasses is kind of how the sweetness is coming through. A little bit of brown bread. I'm actually getting more sweetness. Don't get me wrong, tart cherry all day, or sour cherry, tart cherry, but like there is more sweetness than I initially got. Man. And then there is this earthy funk straw note that's actually kind of helping balance out in a weird way, like those, because that doesn't sound super appealing, you know, and I recognize that, but how all this stuff is working together, it actually smells good. Yeah, I used to, man, I haven't had a lot of beer with Brett. I know it has other stuff besides Brett in it, but when done right, Brett can just be so lovely in a beer. And this has that smell, so I'm hoping about the taste. Cheers. Yeah, it's not... It's a little flat. All things can... I mean, it's not... Okay. Sorry. In my mind, I'm like, was this worth aging? Sorry, my mind can't help but go there. You know, all these Cellar Saturday videos, it kind of boils down to, like, explain what you're tasting, you know, experiencing, what it smells like. That stuff is obviously super important. But I always go back to, in my opinion, the most important thing, was it worth aging? The flavor is fine. Like, it didn't get any worse or better as far as I can remember. Like, it certainly like didn't nosedive, but it's also not the elixir of the gods. You know, it was as good as I remember it being fresh. The only thing that's a negative, and I don't remember how carbonated it was fresh, but it's not particularly carbonated. So it's like the only knock I have right now is it's probably less carbonated than it was fresh. But the taste is good. You get the cherry, it actually follows the nose quite a bit. You get some of that dryness that the yeast can bring to a beer like this, but just like the aroma, there is sweetness coming through. The best I can say is that caramel molasses mix. That's not exactly what it is, but that's when you combine those two things, you're on the path towards what the thing is. It's kind of a unique experience, and I think that's why I'm having a hard time coming up with something closer to what it tastes like, because it's its own thing. But that's about as close as I can go. So it's in that realm. And yeah, you get that sourness, but there's also this tartness. It's kind of a cool drinking experience because, in my opinion, there's a lot of overlap. Actually, that might be a cool thing in the comment section if you're like, I have strong opinions about the difference or the similarities of sour and tart. I would love to hear your thoughts, in all seriousness. But I think this is a good beer that showcases both of those sensations happening at the same time. It is saliva inducing for sure. Like, you kind of want to keep sipping it. This would be a nice beer on a hot day. It's not super hot. It was a pretty nice day. And it's later in the evening now. If I had opened this, I think I got up to about 80 degrees. If I had opened this, sat on my back porch when it was 80 degrees, like, that would have been really nice because it has a little bit of that fruitiness, not like tropical fruit drink, but it has like this little bit, it's not full on cocktail, but like there's enough of that fruitiness from the cherry. I want to say, and I don't think it's just because I said it looked like apple cider. There's a little kiss of apple in there. That could be an age thing as well. I mean, you get that sweetness, but then it's cocktail. It's not, again, not tropical fruit cocktail, but I'm wondering with the barrel aging, especially in the Pinot Noir barrels, the kiss of alcohol taste, and then some of the drier, I hate to say more adult kind of flavors, but like when that stuff kicks in, then it kind of, not that it drinks like a Manhattan or something, but it kind of has a mix of that caliber of a drink with a little bit of fruitiness, where I think, yeah, like that back porch sitting, kind of a nice day would really be sweet, like a nice moment, a nice experience. A little acidic, not even a little, they're definitely acidic. And okay. Apple cider vinegar specifically. And again, it's not that intense. You say something like that, I get it. People are going to jump to like, oh, so you're just drinking vinegar at this point. No. We get a little bit extra apple mixed in with the apple cider vinegarness. If that was very diluted, that's the kind of twang I'm getting towards the finish, which is actually kind of bright and nice. I do like Brett and beer quite a bit. This is really good. This is not upper echelon for me, but I think sometimes I have to I'm like self-reflecting in real time. I don't think I'm selling how much I like the taste of this, but I also don't want to say that and have people think, oh, it's like one of the best beers you had this year. I also am not saying that. Part of what's cool about this is it is unlike anything I've had in a while. So there's like the freshness, not literally, but the fresh refresh, the rebooting of the senses, I guess might be a good way of saying it. But yeah, no, this is good. I'm excited to keep sipping this off camera. I get a little bit of that barrel thing, but like I'm not getting a ton of oak. I'm not getting like vanilla. For me, it's cherry. That might be a little wine in there, but for me, it's just coming across as cherry. I don't know flavors of Pinot Noir well enough to be like, here's that note for sure. So I'm not going to front and pretend I do. But yeah, this is good, and it definitely did not get worse with age, but it didn't like get a lot better either. So yeah, that's my take. Have you had this beer before? Have you had other, like, I love their wild beers, their wild ales and stuff, and I have some more to do from Russian River. Really cool program. Probably the biggest and best flight I ever had was at Russian River. It was, and like the price point was nice, like in a good way. And it was just this huge flight, and I got to try a bunch of different kinds of beers. And I knew them for their hoppy stuff, Pliny, Blind Pig, but their sours and wilds were what kind of made me go, whoa, okay, I see you, kind of a thing. So yeah, I'm rambling. That's how I know it's time to wrap it up. Anything, everything, put in the comment section. Let's get some conversations going. It's the best part of doing this. Once you're done doing that, make sure you check me out on Instagram and Untapped. It's No Hype Beer Reviews at both those places. So always please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.